Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, July the 21st. This is the Energy and Environment Committee. I'm Councilwoman Jan Perry. It's about 9:15. I have to apologize for the delay. Mr. CLA, I understand we have some consent items and some continuances.
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. Ralph here, with the CLA's office. We'd like to recommend for consent items number 3, 7, 5, and 10. 3, 7, and 10 relate to software maintenance contracts for city facilities like Hyperion Treatment Plant, Tillman, as well as electricity grid system. And number 5 is the CEQA clearances for Propo report, the Propo project, Penmar project. So we'd like to consent those if we can.
All right, and we have some continuances also?
Yes, we do. Continuances for item number 11 and 12. Actually, 11, we'd like to receive and file. Both of these items were requested by Councilmember Smith's office to place on this agenda because they're about to expire August 14th. It turns out item number 11 can be received and filed. And item number 12, we'd like to request that it be continued for 90 days and allow for them to report back at that point with the working group's plan for the environmental inspector position. This was a request from CD12.
All right, great. And we are also joined by Mr. Cardenas. So let's go back to item number 1.
Item number 1, DWP report relative to a 30-year lease agreement with Ultramar Incorporated for the use of the Olympic Tank Farm facility.
Do we have staff here to make the report?
Yeah.
Good morning. Greg Luna, LA Department of Water and Power. This is requesting approval of 2 agreements. One is a lease agreement, a long-term 30-year lease agreement with Ultramar. And the second agreement is an interconnect agreement between the department and Air Products / Ultramar for generation. And the 30-year agreement will help to relocate the Ultramar refinery processing now at Marine Tank Farm to our Olympic Tank Farm facility. And they will continue to be there operating for 30 years under this agreement.
Okay. Mr. Cardenas? What's your question?
Yes. You said this would allow you to transfer some facilities activity from one place to another?
Correct. The Ultramar is currently operating at both Marine Tank Farm and Olympic Tank Farm. They're going to relocate their facilities that are currently at Marine Tank Farm to be completely operating in total at the Olympic Tank Farm facility. So they will move out of Marine Tank Farm.
Okay. Now, the capacity of the activity, is it going to change the amount of activity going on?
No, what they're going to do is combine the activities into Olympic Tank Farm. So they're going to have to improve that facility to allow for the combined operation.
Okay. And then, based on what's going on today, there are 2 operating facilities today.
Correct.
So they're going to consolidate to 1 operating facility.
That's correct.
Now, the activity that's going on at the 2 operating facilities today, is the amount of activity and output is going to be the same?
That's my understanding from Ultramar, yes.
That's your understanding because they told you, or that's your understanding because they put it in writing that that is going to be what's going on?
That's what they told us.
That's what they told you verbally?
Yes.
What's our relationship with Ultramar?
They currently have a lease agreement to operate in those 2 facilities now. This will take the place of that current agreement, which was for 10 years.
Okay. So they're paying DWP to use these facilities?
That's correct.
And it's really not our interest to know exactly what they're going to be doing as long as they make payments and...
Well, we know that they're regulated, obviously, because of the facilities that they have there, and to our knowledge, they're operating correctly in a safe manner. But we don't regulate their operation.
Okay. Now, who appraises the value of these facilities?
We have an appraisal done when we first did the first lease agreement. This is more or less a continuation of the current lease rate, and then there's some 5% increases every 5 years.
Now, when was that appraisal done?
About 10 years ago. 7 years ago.
So that appraisal has projections that go out 10 years?
It did, yes.
It did?
Yes.
So that appraisal is being accepted by both parties at this time?
That's correct.
Is it normal for facilities similar to this for the Department of Water and Power to just make that assumption on a 10-year-old appraisal?
I I've never dealt with any other facility like this. I couldn't answer that.
What makes this facility so unique?
We have a limited number of tank farm facilities that we use for our generating plants, and we're no longer in use, so that's why it was available to allow someone else to use it. So we don't have an unlimited number of these.
Okay. And what are we going to do with the old facility?
The old facility is going to be acquired by the Harbor Department and used for part of their waterfront development project.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Great. Just a couple of quick questions about the term. I just wanted to know what amount in rent consideration will the department make over a 30-year term, and whether or not that was viewed within the context of a fair market value.
It was, but to answer your first question, it's about $58 million over the 30-year term.
And what about, well, how is that within the context of fair market value?
It's picking up where the current rate is and then carrying it forward, so that's how they arrived at it. It was more or less a negotiated value, but it's based on what they're already currently paying and then carrying it forward.
And should the obviously fair market value will change over, in the next 30 years, and is there language in there that if the fair market value becomes more favorable to DWP, for example, are there reopeners?
No, they're not.
So basically, this is what it is, and you just have to see what happens?
We're setting the rates now. Yes,
That's
that's correct.
standard practice?
I don't know if it's standard practice for this type of facility. It's not standard practice for everything we do. I know that for sure.
I'd actually like to ask the CLA if they can get me more information on that before we get to council.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
Okay. If you would like, Mr. Cardenas, I'm willing to approve this with one caveat on the issue of fair market value in terms over 30 years, and what is our standard pattern and practice here in the city of Los Angeles? Okay. We don't have a quorum anyway. Well, no, we do now, because we're only 3 people, right? We're done with...
No, that starts in
Well,
another
that
month.
doesn't start right
Yeah.
away. Okay, we're still at 5. So we don't have a quorum.
It's an escalated scale, but every
Okay.
5 years, I don't know.
Okay, the CLA's just given me your escalated scale
HP.
fiscal impact statement,
Correct. Of the rents, the combined rents.
power system revenue fund
Correct.
escalates over every 5 years?
That's correct. There's an escalator clause every 5 years.
Okay.
Which
So-
is about 5% or so.
Correct. Which is, on average, generally speaking, it's going to be a little above market probably right now. And in some years, it might be a little bit below, depending what the real estate market does. But it's probably not a bad average of what things will happen over time.
You want to take a look at it?
Yeah, I got it on page 3. But this is a unique facility.
It is unique
Saying.
for us. I think there's these 2, and I think we may have one other one. They support the generating facilities, but we don't use petroleum for our generating facilities any longer. As you know, they're all natural gas.
Mhm.
So that's why we have excess capacity at these facilities.
All right. Any other questions?
Not me.
Okay. All right. Well,
Recommend approve, but
we'll see.
communication from the chair at this
Yeah,
point until we,
yeah.
okay, we could hold it until.
All right. Item number 2 is
Number
next.
2, DWP report, the lease agreement with the Mono Lake Foundation for the operation of the Mono Basin Outdoor Education Center. Staff from DWP and CAO's office.
Any cards on this one?
No,
We did last time.
that's because they were competing for the fishing contract. No.
But was this a subset of that one? That's my question.
Okay. Okay. Who wants to go first?
What you have in front of you for approval is a proposed lease with the Mono Lake Foundation for
Your name and title for the record?
Gene Sofo, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Aqueduct Section.
I'm sorry, what?
Aqueduct Section, Los Angeles Water and Power.
Here, pull the mic a little closer.
Yeah, for some reason, it doesn't seem like
It's
your
hard
mic
to
is
hear you in this
projecting.
room.
Okay. It's Gene Sofo, the Aqueduct Manager, Water and Power. And what you have in front of you for proposed for approval is a lease with the Mono Lake Foundation for a 30-year lease for education facility in Mono Basin. Since 1995, the Mono Lake Foundation has been taking youth from the city of Los Angeles, the entire city, from the schools, and taking them up to Mono Basin Cane Ranch on department land, and educating them as to the water supply situation, the needs of water for people in the environment, water rights, water reclamation, and recycling. And so we've been on a 5-year leases in the past, and basically the number of the demand for the program that they are running is much greater than the facilities that we have up in Mono Basin. They can handle about 20 students right now, and they for a total of about 250 a year, and like to expand that to something on the order of about 500 students a year, and so require additional facilities up there in terms for water, sanitation, housing, kitchen facilities, and so a 30-year lease would allow them to make such improvements on that lease that they currently have.
Let me ask you a quick question. What was your process for finding students, and from where did they come?
We have the gentleman here from Mono Lake Foundation that
Okay.
could explain that if.
Yeah, tell them to come on up.
I don't know of any kids from my district. I'm not saying they don't go, but I'm not.
Oh, I'd love to send them.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Hurley Jim Bowling, and I'm the Los Angeles Education Coordinator for the Mono Lake Foundation.
Yeah, so tell me your strategy, or what process what does the foundation use to get kids to come up there, and from where do they come?
They come from all over the city, the lion's share. Some do come from outside the city, even Northern California. But our main way of getting people is through word of mouth, the website, and I have a lot of contacts in education. That's why I'm in the job, and so I talk to graduates of the Eastern Sierra Institute. These are teachers from the area high schools, and
You mean the area up around Mono Lake, or?
no area down here,
Give
such
us
as
an
Roosevelt
example
High
of some of
School.
those.
Pardon me?
Can you give us some names of some of those high schools?
Yeah, sure. Roosevelt High School and Boyle Heights. They even started an academy based on their trip up to Mono Lake. That is a marine science and aquatic science, and they use Mono Lake every year. There's Grant High School. There's Dorsey, which has come many years. Crenshaw High School. The San Pedro High School. So it does,
Let
spread
me
around.
make a suggestion to you, because I do my own educational and outreach program through my own office to all the cultural institutions in downtown Los Angeles, and I'd like to ask you, as a foundation, if you could start keeping the statistics maybe in a online, or if you have a website or something like that. And the reason that I keep the statistics is because it enables me to know which schools I've taken out and which schools I've missed, so that I can be comprehensive in my outreach and make sure I hit all the elementary schools, the junior high schools, the high schools, and then working with the community colleges in the area. And it causes me to do a continuous loop of reaching out to these schools. And I appreciate what you've said, but it doesn't seem that there's any methodology to it, other than you have, it doesn't sound like you guys really have a plan.
Well, the plan is pretty much to reach the teachers who are going to make that kind of commitment, because unless they've been there, which is the advantage of groups like the teachers
I
from.
understand that. I'm just asking you if you can formalize something
Sure.
for us, so that we can see how comprehensive your outreach has been. I mean, you have a good memory, but I think you've said 4 or 5 schools, and between just even the two of us, we've got a lot more than that.
Oh yeah, and we want more schools.
And if you can do a plan for us, we can possibly help you spread it out through our own websites, through our own Facebook accounts, through our own outreach, through our newsletters, so that it actually makes a substantive basis for you to even want this expansion. Because based on what you're telling me today, I don't really have a lot to work with other than, you seem really nice and,
Thanks. Yeah.
Maybe you need to do some more work on this, okay?
Well, we do have the statistics, so I can provide, we don't have them on the website. We could put them on the website.
We need to have them so that we can
Yeah.
vote based on substance rather than, kind of guessing,
Sure,
guesstimates.
yeah.
And obviously, these are juveniles, most of them, so you wouldn't be putting names or anything like that, but just like statistical information, what geographic area they come from, what zip codes, what high schools, things of that nature. I think what the chairwoman's trying to get at, and I'll be a little bit more crude than that, it sounds like if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, we'd skip a beat. And so we would like something a little bit more formal, something that could be put in a binder, something that could be on the website, so that should something unforeseen happen to you, the program will be able to continue with the person who steps into your place and make sure that it continues to flow. And this is obviously something that is life-changing, in my opinion, when it comes to inner-city youth going to a facility like this. It really does inspire them to think outside the box, to realize that the world is much bigger than them and that they can, in fact, become a biologist. They can, in fact, do the kinds of things that they only see on TV, and when they touch and feel it, it really does make a difference. I know when I went camping for the first time with my local recreation and park, it made a big impact on me, and it inspired me to think a lot differently from that point forward. And then when I got an opportunity to go on a free trip to the University of California at Santa Barbara, when I was about 12, 13 years old, that inspired me to say, that's where I'm going to go to school. Guess what? That's where I got my engineering degree. So it's those kinds of trips that really make a difference. So the fact that you want to increase the capacity, or that DWP wants to increase the capacity, who is it that is committing to increasing the capacity of the number of kids?
The Mono Lake Foundation will do they'll have to go through the department and get approvals for whatever they're
Sure.
going to do, but they will do the increasing of capacity.
Okay, at their expense?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Now, the fact that you're looking at a 30-year lease gives you the opportunity to make those investments and know that you're going to be able to utilize those investments.
That's
What is the projected amount of investment that the foundation anticipates making when this 30-year agreement is solidified?
Well, we've been doing some fundraising. I think we're looking at least $500,000 initially. And in this economic climate, not easy to raise, but we're trying for that.
Okay.
And we're also planning to do it in stages as we get the funding, so.
And is there anything that precludes the department from making additional investments in this facility for the increase of capacity of our constituents to utilize this facility?
No, and I think it allows for, in working with the Mono Lake Foundation, to do that type of thing.
Uh-huh. And the reason why I'm a bit perplexed as to why we're engaging a foundation that doesn't seem to be the most robust foundation. You're not like sitting on millions of dollars worth of...
No.
Yeah, that's my point. But yet we have a Department of Water and Power that has a capacity of billions of dollars a year in cash flow into it, and yet this is a facility that actually could be utilized for our constituents, and yet we're counting on a foundation that is extremely disadvantaged financially compared to the capacity of the Department of Water and Power. What I'd like to see, Madam Chairwoman, and I'll take the lead on the council, working with the CLA and the CAO and anybody else who'd like to engage, what I'd like to do is send this back to the Department of Water and Power and immediately start working on a game plan where we have some type of matching capacity with this foundation. This is our facility. When the lease is up, I would imagine all of the outhouses and whatever it is that they're going to build here, they're going to remain with the department, correct? They're going to
Correct.
become ours.
Let me ask you a question, CLA. Is this a time-sensitive matter?
Yes, it is. It will be deemed approved if you don't take an action by August 7th.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about rejecting it and then starting over from scratch and rethinking what it is we're going to do with this wonderful facility that Angelenos really don't access very much. Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Is there any, what's the impact of letting the lease expire then, Mr. CLA or somebody?
Well, yeah, it would just expire. I mean, we would put it on carryover.
Month-to-month.
But yeah.
Have we ever had month-to-months after contracts expire?
Yeah,
That's
yes.
a
I mean,
facetious question.
that's practically
We
what
see that
happens.
all the time
Yeah.
in government, and we hate to see
Well,
that
the
all
only
the
reason
time.
I want to raise this is issue, it seems unduly harsh to punish the foundation.
No, I'm trying to help the foundation.
No, I know,
Yeah, I
but,
get that.
huh?
I get that you're trying to help the foundation.
No, I get it too, but if we let the lease expire and go to month, then,
It does make things a little more tenuous, yeah.
Well,
So
I mean,
it's
you
mixed
know.
bag, but yeah.
if you guys don't care, then I could let it go.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about taking 6 months to do this. I mean, with all due respect, I've seen the Department of Water and Power pop off millions and millions of dollars in one decision, like it's nothing. I'm talking about, I'll just give you an idea of what I'm thinking, Madam Chairwoman. I'm thinking about making a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 match on this investment so that we can increase the capacity beyond 500.
The only thing I'm guessing is that, quite frankly, I don't see why, I understand you're trying to get leverage, but I'm not sure the department will care whether they go from a lease to month, and they could let them hang out there in space, and just hang out there and, hey,
Well, look,
work with-
I can be
I
a
don't-
pretty, I can be a
You
pretty
guys need
big.
to speak up.
I can be a pretty big pain. And the thing is, if I have to call David Nahai on a measly contract like this, he's going to get really, really bothered. Like, what are we wasting our time, councilman, with the head of the department on a little contract like this? I think that we can move very, very quickly on this. I think that we can, and I'm not talking about millions of dollars. I'm talking about just a few $100,000 to help this facility really get up to snuff, because I'm really disappointed in the idea that we have this wonderful facility, this tremendous opportunity, and we're only sharing it with 250 or so kids a year, and we're only talking about doubling it to 500.
If I could add, I mean, this is one of a number of programs that we do have up in the Eastern Sierra, and I know there is an effort. I don't have the lead on it, but there is a group in the department that is actually working on something, what you're talking about, but this is similar to, we have agreement with the University of California, Santa Barbara, the University of California, San Diego. We have the Inyo County Education Department, and Mono Lake Committee. I mean, these are just examples of different facilities that we have in the Eastern Sierra that go towards educating students in the UC system, the city of Los Angeles, and so.
Okay, hold on a second. Mr. CLA, August the 7th is the cutoff for this?
Yes, and actually, what I'm thinking about is we have two ways to approach this. You
Why
could-
don't we hold it and get it done before then? Give Mr. Cardenas time to talk to Mr. Nahai and see.
Yeah,
if
but the
it works.
problem is that they would have to send us a separate document, because we can't, it's my understanding, we can't modify this. We have to either approve or reject what the department, what the commission voted on, right?
So why don't we send it back to the commission before then with their...
But that's my
yeah.
point. I mean, I think this is the kind of thing that we could get done in just a short few weeks. And I understand this is one component of all the different components of what kind of access we're giving to the
Okay,
public.
so why don't we reject it
and to
today, send
organization.
it back to commission, and have it come back before the 7th? And that'll give Mr. Cardenas time to do what he needs to do. And then if you would, when you come back, just a suggestion and actually a request,
Request, yeah.
compilation,
Mm-hmm.
maybe go back a year or two, and then show how you're going to compile your statistics on a going forward basis so that you can keep it on a spreadsheet, okay?
Okay,
So
sure,
we can
yeah.
you can demonstrate that your outreach has been comprehensive in the basin in the city of Los Angeles.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, okay. I don't want to argue against what the intent of what you're doing, but just one other piece of information. The department has given us $30,000 for expansion of the program this year so far.
Yeah, that's cute.
Yeah.
Really cute.
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
That's-
what you're talking about, but,
That's nothing.
yeah.
Okay. So why don't we do that? Can we do that, Mr. CLA?
I think somebody's trying to salvage something here.
Wendy Yancey, Water and Power. With all due respect, would it be possible to consider this, forward this to council, and we come back we work out an agreement going forward, whether it be in the form of a motion or actually just separate agreement going forward where we would thereby assist the Mono Lake Foundation.
We have till August the 7th anyway, and if we can get this all done by August the 7th.
Perhaps by August 7th, is that?
If that would be amenable to the committee.
Don't we have to kick it back to commission, reject it today?
Basically 2 weeks.
Kick it back to commission. Why don't we just do that and bring it all back in one piece?
Okay.
All right? But in time, so August the 7th.
The thing is, again, I think this is the kind of thing that the foundation, the Department of Water and Power can figure out how much more capacity makes sense. Obviously, because of the sensitive area, we don't want 10,000, 20,000 people traipsing around this place. But I'm talking about the foundation and the department trying to figure out, are we capping out at closer to 800? And if so, what kind of facilities would it take? I feel as though I get a strong feeling that the foundation is going to do everything that they can to pull together whatever they can to make it happen as soon as possible. But the sad part about it is, if the department decides that they want to engage in that effort and the resources to do so, the department can do it much quicker and much easier, still keeping the foundation responsible for the operating and doing what they can to contribute on a going forward basis to the facility and the infrastructure to increase this capacity. But the sad part about it is, it looks as though we're treating this foundation like we would any private entity that has a lot more resources. But unfortunately, it appears that they don't. But the department does. And I get the feeling the department is not limited on its legal capacity to engage and meet them halfway or what have you, so we can get this place up and running and a higher capacity.
So procedurally, why don't we wrap this one up? All right, so we're going to send it back with Mr. Cardenas's requests, with my requests, and then have it back here. If we have to do a special meeting on this item only, then we'll just have to do a special meeting, and then put a placeholder in it for council on the 7th.
Actually, once it goes back to the commission, the clock starts again.
Clock starts again.
So you don't have to worry about the August 7th.
Oh, all right, okay, great.
It's up to them to move
Okay,
it back
great.
to us with some urgency, and it'll be a 5-minute conversation then.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
That's,
That was 2, so that brings
two,
to 4.
and 3 is a consent. Next item is 4.
DWP report relative to execution power sales agreement and agency agreement with SCAPA with regard to hydroelectric capacity from the Teton Hydroelectric Power Plant. Teton or Titan? Titan?
Teton.
Okay, Teton.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Council Member Randy Howard, Director of Planning and Development for the Resources at Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. What we have before you is a power purchase agreement or a power sales agreement with SCAPA, including a participation agreement and an agency agreement. This is a small hydroelectric power plant located in Washington State. It's currently delivering to the LA Power System on a short-term basis. What we're proposing here is a 20-year power purchase agreement. The average cost over that 20 years is about $77 a megawatt hour. And it would utilize our Pacific DC intertie to deliver that power down in. And it's jointly with the cities of Glendale and the city of Burbank.
What's the percentage of the renewable portfolio goal this will provide, and how much of the 20% by 2010 has already been achieved?
We were reviewing the numbers yesterday. We're about 13.6% currently in capability, meaning the ability to, if we were to do nothing else, that's what we would have. We are just completing our 4th wind farm this year under construction. We brought on our Pebble Springs wind farm in Oregon earlier this year. We brought on our Willow Creek wind farm in Oregon. We just completed our Pine Tree this month. That's now fully operational. And we have the Milford Wind Project in Utah, which is under construction, should be fully operational this year. So once the Milford is on, we should exceed 15% in capability. Today, pending before the Board of Commissioners are 2 additional wind projects that will be about another 3.5%.
Is there any provision under the agreement that the city accept non-renewable power from Teton and or any other entity if they can't fulfill their obligations?
No, this project would be, it's a small hydro, it's a run of the river. It operates really from about May through about October, depending on the hydro capacity up there in the Pacific Northwest, and we just take the power as it's produced.
I know that at some point City of Glendale had been discussing whether or not to join in the power purchase agreement. Have they made a final decision?
Verbally, they have indicated that they will participate in the project.
And by what date should they formalize that verbal agreement?
They are preparing, I believe, to go, I don't know that I have the date that they're going to the city council, but it's relatively soon,
For resolution?
to seek approval as well.
And then, again, could you just review the cost to the Department of Water and Power over the 20-year life of this agreement?
Put on my glasses for that one. There are a couple provisions related to cost. One is, because we initially were looking at this project as an acquisition, we were going to purchase it for an agreed-upon amount pending due diligence. We completed the due diligence and determined that amount was excessive. We came in with a lower price. The seller said no longer interested in selling for that price that we offered, and so we entered into the PPA. But in order to start out that due diligence, the City of Burbank approved the project, agreed to backstop it. They put up $8 million in earnest money. So part of this agreement is a participation where we're going to reimburse the City of Burbank for our third of the share. So we have that cost up front that we will pay out once approved, and then we will pay for every megawatt hour out of the project. So the pricing currently is estimated to be $65 a megawatt hour for the first 400,000 megawatt hours. That's about 8 years worth for us. And then once that has been used, it will go up to approximately $85 a megawatt hour. So an average cost over the 20 years of about $77 a megawatt hour.
All right, Mr. Cardenas?
Thank you. So the average cost, we usually talk in this committee on per kilowatt, how many pennies per kilowatt. What's going to be the cost?
That would be approximately 7.7 cents a kilowatt hour.
What's our blended rate right now?
Our blended rate, I believe, is close to 11 cents.
Okay. So this is part of what, in a good way, weights down our average, not by a lot because it's not that much energy, but it's on the lower and it's below the mean.
For a renewable project, it's a competitive price.
And what are we paying for renewable energy these days?
Today, before our board, are two wind projects. One is a wind project at about $77. The other is...
So that's 7.7 again.
Is a little bit lower, but again, that's wind which is variable. This one we can rely on from about May through June, which is when we need the energy the most. During the winter months, it freezes over, so there's no production. And so it has a capability, a capacity behind it. As you know, with wind, sometimes it's going to blow, sometimes it's not. This one brings greater value to our power system. But it's a relatively small project.
Now, is this considered to be small hydro, or?
This would be qualified as small hydro for the
So the state of California doesn't recognize that as a renewable energy source?
It's under 30 megawatts is recognized as a renewable energy source, and this is under 30. It's over 30 where they're no longer recognizing as renewable.
Is anybody working on the state of California recognizing our large hydro?
We are currently working on legislation where it would recognize our aqueduct system as adopted by the City Council for renewable, but for like a Hoover Dam, no, we're not considering that at all.
If we were to count Hoover Dam, how much would that jump us up in renewable?
We would now be above 20%.
Now, when it comes to, so this is a facility that we contemplated purchasing?
This facility was constructed in 2006. It came in through our 2007 RFP. We spent about a year on due diligence, a lot of work looking at acquiring it, trying to appraise what we think the value would be to us, and we came up with a different number than the seller was asking.
Okay. If we were to purchase it, would that institute a requirement that our IBEW people would be up there running it?
It is our belief, if we were to go forward with an acquisition, which we still are in some discussions if the seller would be interested, that we would have our employees working at this facility. It would be an extension of our hydro facilities. We currently have operators. They're comfortable with this type of technology, with these types of facilities. They would be the operator.
When we operate facilities like this with our IBEW people, do we become more efficient when it comes to the dollars expended per kilowatt on manpower and women power, or do we tend to be, on average, higher or lower than other facilities when it comes to the industry?
I think it will be dependent on how we choose to operate it up there. I think there's a number of different paths. I'm not in charge of operations, so I can't make those decisions. Currently, there is one individual up there operating the plant. We might staff it a little higher. This is part, though, and if you wouldn't mind, I have kind of a picture that I can show.
I'm almost done.
I can also continue.
Okay.
What I'm showing you is, this is the Columbia Gorge.
Okay.
The two wind projects that are now operating are right here that serve our system. Today, the board is reviewing and considering approval of these two projects. So we kind of have a cluster of projects that we will eventually operate. Linden, we are proposing to buy outright and operate this facility. The hydro project is up the road from there. So as we develop our own resources in this area, we'll have a cluster of operations. So then we're going to gain the efficiency. If we were to do this as a standalone, we probably wouldn't be that efficient ourselves.
Okay. I'm assuming we have a transmission line?
There is the Pacific DC transmission line that we have in ownership.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. No other questions? All right, that's item 6.
That was number 4, actually.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Recommend approved?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Number 5, you had
continue.
approved on consent.
And number 6 is our next
6.
item.
CR report relative to amendment number 1 to contract, existing contract with USA Waste of California Incorporated. We have staff from Bureau of Sanitation and the CAO's office.
Okay. Yeah. If you don't, before we go into this, Mr. Cardenas, if you don't mind, I think we should also continue item 8 and 9, so we can get downstairs by 10 o'clock. You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Continue.
So we'll continue 8 and 9, 8, 9, and 10. And then this will be the last item before we go into public comment. And let's see if we can't make the agenda shorter so we can have time for discussion and still make it down by 10 o'clock. Okay. Okay.
Good morning, Mara Corella, Office of the CAO. Amendment 1 to Contract 110742 with USA Waste is to include the disposal of private waste to the Antelope Valley, Palmdale, and Lancaster landfills. The current contract provides for the disposal of city waste to the El Sobrante landfill. The estimated annual cost of Amendment 1 is about $835,100. This will increase the contract costs from $21.9 million to $23.6 million for the remainder 2 years of the contract. Funding for Amendment 1 will be provided from the Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station Trust Fund.
Maybe I couldn't hear, because there's a lot of movement in the back, but is this contract resulting in additional expenditures that the city's expecting to make, or expected to make?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Okay, it's hard for you too. Yeah. Does this contract amendment result in any additional expenditures that the city is expected to make?
There's no additional expense to the general fund. Javier Polanco, Bureau of Sanitation. There's no additional impact to the general fund with the addition of these services to this contract in this amendment.
Okay, so the expansion of these services comes from the disposal fee? Is that how it's funded?
That's correct, because we have our Clark's facility where the private waste comes in and those haulers pay a gate rate.
Now, I know that based on the report, the disposal fees have decreased a bit. Is that correct?
Well, the fees there's just a marginal increase in the fees for private waste, but it's still much lower than any other disposal fees that we have on contract.
So you're saying that there's been a marginal increase in the fee, or?
Yeah, there's a marginal increase in the fee, but there's no impact to the general fund because private users of cards pay for that.
No, I guess what I'm trying to reconcile what I believe is in the report, and Mr. CLA, correct me if I'm wrong.
What's being referred to is the drop to, I believe, $25 per ton as opposed to the $44
Yeah, the
per ton.
current contract provides that the fee for city waste to go to El Cervantes landfill is $23.60. Any waste exceeding that would be $44 to Palmdale, Antelope Valley landfill, and Lancaster landfill. So the amendment would bring that rate down to it's $25.53 for Lancaster landfill and $26.14 for Palmdale, Antelope landfill. If the El Cervantes landfill is not available.
Okay.
So it generates savings.
Right, when El Cervantes is not available.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Mr. Cardenas?
Yeah, right now, we're paying $44 a ton to take the waste to either one of these landfills?
That would be if it exceeds the availability of El Cervantes. The city waste that's going to El Cervantes landfill, we pay $23.60.
How much?
$23.60 in the contract. Now, if that's based on 600 tons per day.
600 tons.
If it exceeds that, then we would be paying the $44 to go to the other landfills.
Okay, so this contract at that rate is 600 tons per day
That's for city waste.
for city waste.
Yes.
And if we exceed that, then we're paying how much per ton?
It would be the $44 per ton.
So that's a substantial increase per ton in cost.
Yes.
And what are we operating at right now as far as meeting or exceeding that 600 tons per day?
We're meeting that 600 tons per day.
We are.
Right.
Are we exceeding it?
No, we're not exceeding it. We're just meeting it. But we don't exceed, so we don't have to pay, that.
And what are our projections? Our best projections right now? Are we going to be exceeding it in the future, or?
No, we keep a very close tab to make sure that we're, almost exactly at 600 tons per day on a daily basis.
So we have methods of diverting that excess to other facilities that are not as expensive at $44 a ton?
And we control it from the Clark's facility. We can keep track of the tonnage, the outbound tonnage that's leaving that facility to make sure that, we're right at 600 tons. We keep a tight balance.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, great. Are you ready to approve this?
Move the item. Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, that'll mark the end of our agenda, and the other two items have been continued. This is the part of the agenda for those items or issues that are not agendized public comment. Anybody wishing to make public comment is welcome to do so now. If not, the meeting's adjourned. So what I'll do is I'll shorten.